everybody. Welcome to Conversations in Supply Chain. So today we are just going to be talking about a procurement journey of one seasoned procurement professional, Mr. Theetso Ntsima. Mr. Ntsima, welcome to Conversations in Supply Chain. We want to hear from you today. We want to learn from you. I'm quite interested in your journey. It's been a long journey. You started from way back. So I want you to introduce yourself and tell us where you started and how it looked like back then.
No, thank you very much.
Yes.
I've previously followed your other interviews and I enjoy them. And thank you very much for this opportunity for me to be here. My journey in procurement started in 2007. It's not a long time. It should be about 18 years. But I would just like to say I stumbled into procurement. I didn't know about procurement until I started working in procurement. So just a bit of background. I think government around, I don't know whether it's 2006 or 2007, took a decision to employ, professionals or people with qualifications. So I got into procurement with my Bachelor of Commerce degree, measuring economics and statistics. So that's how I started. But before that, how I studied BCom, economic statistics. I was just going through newspapers. I used to love to read newspapers back in the past. So I came across a certain, I'll never forget him. He was the then permanent secretary to the president, So I saw that he did a Bachelor of Commerce, measuring economics and statistics.
In our
years, we never used to have career guidance. So even when I was finishing my Form 5, I didn't even know what I was going to do. So when I saw this thing to say he's the advisor to the president, so I got interested. I need to be an advisor to the president. So I pursued BCom, economics and statistics. Of course, I did a bit of background to see upon completion, is there I work for a bank, or I work for an insurance company, or I work for the Ministry of Finance. As fate would have it, I was employed by the Ministry of Finance for back then, procurement used to call it supply. So I was employed as a supplies officer. That was my first encounter with procurement. So like I said, in the past also, Ministry of Finance will employ you as a supply officer, and then it will second you to different ministries. So the employment for all the supplies officer then, which is called procurement, was done by Ministry of Finance. And then from there, you'll be seconded to Ministry of Education. You'll go to Ministry of Health. You'll go to different ministries. So my first work was at Ministry of Education. I was seconded to Ministry of Education. And I was working for a school called Emang Junior Secondary School in Ntsima, about 60 km from here. So that was my very first job, new, fresh from school, having been home for a year and a half. I finished my degree in 2004. Then I went on and did postgraduate certificate in education so that I can be able to teach. 2005, and then 2006 I was at home. And then 2007 May, that's when I get my first appointment. So like I said, I'm new from school, learning supplies, learning procurement. I don't even know what is what. I get to school. Some of the teachers, because these were the guys that we went to school together. They used to say, my work is to issue pencils and rubbers. They were like.
I actually wanted to interject there and say, what did it look like then? Because you were going into office, and mind you have a background of something else theoretically from school. Your qualification, you're holding something different, and you're going into the field, it's totally something different. I think now it's a bit better when it comes to understanding what procurement looks like for us young professionals, because you find people who are there and you also went to school for the same thing. There's alignment here and there. So when you got there, what did it look like for you? Because were there mentors, people to show you how to do, or you had to scratch and study and learn on the job? And what did that look like for you?
It was a mixture. Having been home for a year and a half, I think firstly I was excited that I've been employed.
Yes.
Whatever you're going to learn, you're not interested. You're just happy that now
I have a job.
You have a job. You're gonna be paid. Of course, you're excited. So I would like to say there was one lady that I worked with. I think she's the one who really held my hand. But she was there only for 3 months. Then she was transferred. So I had to figure out everything on my own. But I would say she had a huge impact on my career. Like I said, she was there for 3 months, then she was transferred. So when I was getting there, I think the first thing she was teaching me how to do a purchase order.
Yeah.
Back then we were using a manual. So she just gave me, after doing the evaluation, just give me those papers to say, make a purchase order. You don't even know what a VAT is. You're just putting money there. And then there's this thing, we used to fax request for quotation. You just send them, just saying, give me a fax number, fax this thing. So I'll be just going there to fax. So I was just interested in that. And then I remember at school, meals are prepared for the kids. You just take me to the kitchen. That's called a scale of issue. It's more like a system or maybe an Excel spreadsheet, something like that. We just calculate. If you're cooking food for 500 kids, how much food are you supposed to prepare? Is it 10 kg? Is it 20 kg? The meat. So it was just fascinating for me going to the kitchen, weighing food, doing this and that. So it was quite interesting. And then, at secondary school, we have home economics, you've got art, you've got sport. So she would just take me around to say...
I went to a public school too, so I was just on the other end of it all. So we would see these materials. We would have D&T, we would have books, we would have home economics, food, and they're very particular with what needs to be in the kitchen. And we didn't know that it's coming from you, that somebody was sitting behind and making plans for. So it's quite good and quite interesting to know that there was someone who was coordinating all of that for us.
Very interesting.
And it was quite a different space, I'd say, with considerations to now. Things are maybe a bit different when it comes to procurement. So then after all that experience, you decided to go back and, start school for this profession. Would you say you fell in love with the profession now, or?
I did. Like I said, when I started, the teachers used to make fun of me. Yeah, like you are weighing food in the kitchen, like you are issuing chalk. So when I started, I didn't like the profession. I think mainly because I had done economics and statistics, and they were very challenging.
Yeah.
So I was like, I did all this permutation to come and issue books.
Yes.
So it was a bit boring for me. Like I'm saying, they'll just be always making fun of you, making fun. So initially when I started, I didn't love the profession. I always wanted to change. Like I said, I was under Ministry of Finance. Where Statistics Botswana was still under Ministry of Finance, budget was still under Ministry of Finance. So I wanted to change the profession to say, I need to go and do something that I've studied. But, over time, I fell in love with the profession. Like I'm saying, back then, government would issue furniture to teachers that they were using in their houses. So at the end of the term, I needed to go around and do inventory to see which one is broken, what needs to be replaced, the houses. Sometimes the geyser is not working. You'll be having a craftsman who needs to know, or you need to change a geyser in so and so's house. So I was always working with all these people. I'll be working with an HE teacher to go and procure the food that is used by students. We'll be procuring sports equipment for the students. I'll be there with the sports master. I'll be there in the kitchen working with the bazaar, working with the cook. You're just interacting with all of these people. And, that's when you come to appreciate to say, okay, so this is procurement. Like I'm saying, back then we used to call it supplies. So you get to say, so this is supplies. Some of those small things, working with people, ensuring that food is there. At 10:30 break time, the bread is there, the tea is there. All of those things were done by procurement. Design and technology or art, those brushes that you are buying, you get to learn to know about them, the paint, science lab, you are buying this equipment. Like you are saying, things have really changed now. I think because of where we are with our economy, things have really changed. But back then little by little, I still appreciating the profession to say, so for school to be school, we need to be there to support all these guys. Whether in the kitchen, like I said, art, business studies. I remember you're buying some stuff for business studies, some cameras that we're using. We're procuring them.
You needed to know where to get it, what exactly to get, and you needed to be on time.
Yes.
Those are some of the quite important things that people don't know about procurement.
But back then, most of the teachers were doing everything. Like I'm saying, your sport master will be the one, he would know where to get all this stuff. So I think, which is why government was saying we need to have professionals who are going to coordinate this accordingly, who are going to be able to send a request for quotation, who try to have value for money. The food that you are buying, where do you buy them? Are those shops, are they licensed? Because back then we just used to buy. We just know, I know this shop, and just go and buy without, having evaluation, without seeing value for money and so forth and so on. So like I'm saying, I just fell in love with the profession. I think maybe because I was with the school for about 3 to 4 years. After 4 years, that's when I said, you know what? I think this profession is quite interesting. So I was no longer interested in changing, going to statistics or going to clinical affairs. I said, you know what? I need to study the profession.
Do you have like an aha moment that was just like, it's time to go back and study? And, like just that one time where you just felt, no, I think I'll take this and carry on with this.
No, it's very true. When it comes to negotiation, a lot of us, or people when we're in public procurement, they're always saying there's no negotiation. But negotiation is there. So I remember one day we were trying to negotiate with one supplier. He was on his way to Joanne to deliver some goods, and we wanted him to pass by to drop. And I said, no, I'm going to Joanne. So you guys were not in my route for me to pass there. So I was like, no. And we need, Joanne, of course, when you are going to Joanne in the past, to be using that Habano route, not maybe going through the police college and going through Nkanda, but we're trying to plead with him to say, can you just pass and drop this thing for us? So I said, you know what, I think I need to do better in terms of negotiation, to try and convince, any other supplier that I'm going to deal with in terms of negotiation, whether we're not talking about negotiation for price only, in terms of you're under pressure, yes, relationship management and so forth and so on. So I think that is when negotiation, I think when I went and pursued SIPs, the first thing that came to my mind was negotiation.
I need to know how to negotiate.
So I think it's one of those one of the main reasons why I did SIPs, I think, for negotiation.
So it's been how many years now in the profession in total?
May 2025, it was 18 years.
Oof.
I'm going to 19 years. But for me, I'm a very ambitious person. Even though I've got 18 years in procurement, I've worked for 9 organizations. My current organization is my 9th organization. Because like I'm saying, I'm very, very ambitious. I want to see, procurement contributing positively to our economy. I want the organization to change the way they look at procurement. So, I've been to different organizations just to impact them, just to show them, what procurement is. Like I was saying earlier on, when I started fresh from school, I read, we used to use supplies regulation. I went through it, read it, the operations manual, I went through it, I read it, the then public procurement Act, used to be PPAD Act back then. I went through it, read it, just to really understand, what is this monster about procurement. So I impart myself. I learned, because in most instances you procure food, they are there. All you have to do is just issue them. So in most instances, I will not be having, anything, a lot to do. So I just go through these manuals, read them, understand why do we have to have minimum of 5 quotations, why do I have to prepare a purchase order, why are we paying suppliers 30 days after receiving goods. So I needed to understand those. I think I am where I am because of, the foundation that I had when I started.
That's true. Okay, so you've definitely seen a lot in this space, and we do acknowledge that things have changed, over time. So I know for sure there are some skills that you've acquired then, which in our time might not be relevant. So can you highlight for us some of the things that you learned back then in the profession that right now you don't think it's relevant and we might need to move differently?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, like I'm saying, you needed to know the supplies regulation. Of course, then it was a book that you need to go through. There's table of contents. You don't even know where to find what. Right now you're talking about contract management. You might not necessarily find it on table of contents.
Yes.
So you needed to go through the book page by page by page, reading until you come across contract management. I think, like I'm saying, I needed to know it by heart. I think one other thing is when you are passionate about something, you don't feel the pain when you are going through that book.
That's true.
We are talking about request for quotation, we're talking about quotation proposals. This is one and the same thing, but it's used in different contexts. You need to know invitation to tender. So you go through that book until you come across invitation to tender. But in this age, you have a PDF copy. You simply type, you find where contract management is. If you have something about, conflict, in case you have got conflict, you needed to go through that book, like I said, page by page until you come across. So in this 2025, you simply type.
The digital age.
Digital age. You take you through to conflict management. You go through that. The act. You then have to go through the act. Act has got about 83 pages or so. So I can imagine in this era going through those pages, try and find, somebody has reported the tribunal, you need to address it.
What do we do?
Yeah, so like I'm saying, right now we just simply search, you just give you the context, you go there, look for that. So it's some of those skills that I've learned, but they are no more relevant now. Because like I'm saying, technology has made our life much easier. You simply search, you find whatever you are doing. But I think some of those experience will never go away from you. Right now, you have got a huge document that you need to read. I think you develop some of these skills, that you can be able to navigate the book quickly.
You just don't sign. You read through
without necessarily going page by page. So I think those are some of the things that I've learned. And I normally say, you cannot buy experience. Experience is something that you cannot buy. It's something that you learn. Learning to work with people. Like I'm saying, when I was starting, I was working with cooks there in the kitchen. I was working with the security at the gate. I was working with different teachers. So some of this that you cannot, maybe learn through books. Just emotional intelligence. So if somebody comes to you, they're very angry. How do you deal with them? How do you help them? How do you calm them down? Because I have an example. Years and years ago, one maths teacher, you receive a timetable for the final year, for the Form 3s, to say maths is being written on this day, Setswana on this day. So the guy has had the timetable for a whole month. But on the day of the exam, I still remember the time, at 10 in the morning, he came to me and say, we need a maths instrument set for the students at 10. The exam is at 2 p.m. The same day. The exam was starting in the afternoon at 2. And he's saying, but I say, you know what? I needed to send RFQs. I need to evaluate. I need to prepare purchase order. If you are telling me at 10, how am I going to do that? But supplier relation management really helped, because I remember I called one supplier, checked if he had those maths instruments, checked if you can be able to deliver them on time. And he did that without necessarily following the evaluation, so that the student will be able to write on time. So
that's quite interesting and good. You still find yourself facing similar situations. It might not necessarily be the maths issue, but right now you've probably evolved into other situations that are more likely, and you're applying the same rules and procedure, which is quite important to carry experience with you. It helps. But I like us to appreciate something. You said when you started, the people there did not understand what procurement is, and they called you the supplies officer, and they had their way in which they saw us as procurement people. So what are some of the challenges that you've encountered in the profession while you're trying to teach people that this is procurement, this is what we do, and how did you overcome them?
Like I said, a couple of years ago, we engaged Business Botswana because we were concerned about, overpricing. When somebody is doing business with the government, will have a different price than when he's doing business with the private sector. And what we heard from Business Botswana was that, most of the people who are overpricing, they are not members of Business Botswana. These are just entrepreneurs. Somebody who just, raised a company, start doing business with government. And whenever they have that opportunity to overprice, they will just do that. And we could see that this thing needs collaboration. You see, there are people who are members of Business Botswana who are doing things properly. There are those that are tenderpreneurs. They don't, they don't, report to anyone to say why you're overpricing. So it's like we really need to deal away with this. Yes, I don't know whether it's 2018 or 2017. We are told, 37% of the GDP goes to waste through procurement because of this overpricing. And you are always wondering, these guys, if you are doing business, don't they know that this is our money? These are the taxes that are being collected from the people. So if you are just having prices, you can get, just a cup, a coffee mug, something that you can buy for 7 pula. The same coffee mug being supplied to government, somebody will be selling it for 300 pula. One. And we are saying, what are we saying as Botswana? If you are doing business, are you not being concerned about this? Right now in 2025, we are crying that the country doesn't have the money. But if you can look back, it is, how we have been doing business, how, the business community have been doing business with the government. This has been happening year after year after year. Now look where we are. And normally we are saying procurement. But procurement is not being done by me as a procurement professional alone. I'm doing it with the business community. We're always talking about corruption. Is corruption being done by one person? It is done by two. If I'm a procurement professional, I'm being corrupt. I'm corrupting somebody or somebody is corrupting me. So it's a two-way thing. It's like I'm saying, these are some things that have been there for a long time and they've caused problems. And right now, you are talking about procurement. Somebody's just thinking about thieves. Those guys are thieves. But am I still
I was
alone?
going to actually ask you about some of the misconceptions that you come across when it comes to procurement. But I guess now that answers it.
No, that's very
it's
true.
One of the highlights. That's what people call it.
The misconception that we have is that procurement professionals are thieves. But the question is, where are we stealing from?
Yeah.
What about the business community that is stealing from government, that is stealing from parastatals? Look, I'm saying, we are always saying we are corrupt. But corruption, is it being done by one person?
It's a sign. It's a two-way thing. I was going to ask you something here. You've been in the education industry for some time. And what are some of the competencies that you feel as procurement professionals, especially who are practicing in the public procurement, would you say we need to adopt, or what changes do we need to make in the public procurement as professionals?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I'd like to say some of the people who are already in procurement professionals, they are very competent. They are well experienced. Earlier on I was saying, you can't buy experience, but qualification you can buy them. You can come to school, you don't do your assignment, or you buy somebody's you, and at the end you have a academic qualification, but you have bought that qualification. But in terms of experience, you can't buy experience. You can't buy competence. It is something that you've been doing time and again until you perfected it. Sometimes you are doing things repeatedly. One of the reasons why you are called expert is because I've been doing this thing time and again until I perfected it and I become an expert. So the problem that we have with our public sector is not an issue of qualification, because people are competent. People are well experienced. The challenge is that demotivation. I think because people have not been promoted, people have not been creating value. I always say as procurement, we need to create value for organizations. For organizations to start recognizing, we need to create value. Do we really need procurement professionals? Earlier on you're talking about misconceptions. Some people think, no, procurement, I can just do it. I can just send quotation, come and evaluate and buy. But it's not all about that. But it's about how you have perfected this craft. How you have followed the law to the letter. When you are being audited, can we see that there isn't any corruption? Earlier on I was talking about corruption. But when the paper trail is there, we can see that there isn't any corruption there. So like I'm saying, we as a procurement professional, we need to create value. Management need to see value in us. User department needs to see value in us. The bidding community, the tenant, they need to see value in how we are doing things. So this is, our professionals that are competent, that are qualified. I think, like I said, the biggest issue is motivation. A lot of our procurement professionals are demotivated. Whatever reason. Is it because of promotion? Is it because of how things are being done by management? Is it things because we are not doing the premium plan? Is it how the bidding committee is doing? So we need to unravel this, try and find out where is the demotivation coming from, so that whether it's government, whether it's they can see the value in procurement. Like I'm saying, I've been doing procurement for the longest time, and personally for me, I've said I want to create value. The organization that I've worked for, I've always said I want them to see value in procurement. I want them to see value in procurement. I need them to see integrity in procurement. I need them to see how procurement can contribute to the success of our country. Not only our country, the success of this continent of Africa.
Okay. Yeah. I want to pick your mind on that. Outside of professionals, how can procurement contribute to overall performance of organizations or even the government? What value do you think we can do or bring to our communities outside of the competency of a professional? In your own view, in your own world, how can procurement drive an economy?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It goes back to some of the, the directives that we have to say women empowerment, youth empowerment, people with disability, and so forth and so on. Yeah. So that is how, procurement can really contribute. Like I'm saying, some of these, they came about to try and empower people. But for some reason, we as the procurement professionals, we abuse them. I would know my cousin, I would give them as a woman a job. I would having youth at home, whether my nephew, my niece, I would use them to abuse them. But these were meant to empower our local communities. A couple of years ago, local procurement schemes were introduced. Like I'm saying, they are being abused. Instead of serving the true purpose of empowering those local communities, whether you're in Khansi, be empowered, whether you're in Mulepolole, you're in Muchudi, you're in Masunga, they are now not serving those intended purposes. Or maybe we are not, going out and teaching people to say, if you are in Masunga, you need to have, a trading license for here for you to benefit from this. So people with the knowledge, somebody will be moving from Gaborone, going there, registering a company, they're getting a trading license there. He's doing well in Gaborone, he's doing well there. So we as the community never get to see the benefit of some of these programs. But like I'm saying, I think just for us as procurement professionals, to really teach, share information with our communities, sometimes when we have shows, your Gaborone show, your Francis show, just go there and try and teach the community so they can be able to benefit from some of these schemes. So there's a lot, there's a lot to talk about, but I believe it's not my first and my last time here. As time goes,
we'll get to unravel quite a lot of topics.
Yeah, because there's a lot to talk about. Personally, I'm very passionate about procurement, and I always feel pain when people are saying we are thieves. They're always saying procurement is corrupt, overpricing, because they don't see the value of procurement. So we just need to do a lot so that the organization understand, user department, government understand the value of procurement.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings me to the last question with you. Is there's been people in the profession, you've highlighted that perhaps it could be that we are not motivated enough, we are not happy. But what is that one word or that call to action that you'd like to say as people in procurement who've been in procurement for quite some time? What is it that you'd like to tell them? Or what is it that you'd like to advise them? What is it that you'd like them to change? And then also give a word to other young professionals who are starting and they simply have just gotten their first job. What is that word that you'd like to tell them? Start with the one who's been in procurement for some time.
Yeah. Or the other way. Now, I'll talk about the young professionals. I at some point in my career I was a lecturer. I taught at IDM, I taught at BAC, and some of those guys are starting now in their profession. So I'm always getting calls,
Yeah.
Mr. Ntsima, we are doing this tender. How do you go
How do we
about
do?
it?
Yeah.
And I'm just saying to the guys, go out there, make mistakes, learn from your mistakes. We cannot just be perfect. You are starting the profession and you're already perfect. Even me, Mr. Ntsima, there are times where I've made mistakes, I've corrected my mistakes, and I become a better procurement professional.
Yeah.
So I always say, give yourself time to learn. Those guys that you are finding there, let them help you, let them teach you. Like I said, I was taught procurement by somebody who didn't have, the master's degree that I have, the degrees that I have, the diplomas that I have. I was taught by somebody who learned through experience, but he molded me to be what I am. So I'm just saying to the young generation, learn. Whoever that you are finding there, learn from them. Like I said, you can never buy experience, but qualification you can buy. You are coming with your SIPS level 6, you are coming with your master's. Let those guys teach you the ropes of procurement, and don't be scared of making mistakes. You learn about a lot of business that are doing very well. They started somewhere. They failed, they started again. Even in procurement, you're going to learn. You make a mistake with your RFQ, make mistakes during evaluation, allow yourself to learn. Learning will not kill you. Making mistakes will not kill you.
And
Nobody will
it
persecute
never
you.
stops.
Very true.
Learning
Nobody will
never stops.
persecute you for making mistakes. So, a young generation, make mistakes, learn from your mistake. And then as we have been there for the longest time, like I said, I'm somebody who is very, very passionate about procurement. Quite recently, I have learned that, Tim Cook, who is the CEO of Apple, he's a procurement person. We have Mary Barra, CEO of General Motors. He's a procurement person. The other one, Lee Scott, CEO of Walmart. He started in procurement. So it is saying to us, let us not give up. You can start as a procurement professional, and at some point you are a CEO. Right now in Botswana, not far, CEO of Botswana Oil, Mr. Mesak Tsekedi, he started as a procurement professional. CEO of PPRA, Memutsumi, he's a procurement professional. So you can see that we as a procurement professional, we can even go to a level of being CEOs. So the future is still very bright for us procurement professionals, those who are starting, those who are already there, and those who are looking forward. You can go to the level of being a CEO.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Ntsima. You've covered quite a lot. You've brought quite a lot to us. I hope and believe that my community is going to benefit from this interview and learn quite a lot from you. We appreciate you and we hope to see you again and again and again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to introduce something to this platform. Just as you close, give us that one thing that you live by. Perhaps, like, is it a scripture? Is it that one thing, that one line that you live by?
I think for me, I'm a born again Christian, so I always say, your promotion neither comes from the east nor the west, but it comes from the Lord. So I always say, in whatever that you are doing in your private space, always think about God. What is God saying?
What do you think of this?
Yeah, if you are being bribed, nobody might be seeing you but God. So I always say, my promotion neither comes from the east nor the west, but it comes from the Lord. And it forces me to have integrity in everything that I'm doing.
The core of procurement.
I'm always thinking about God. What is God saying? If I'm supposed to award this tender to these and I'm taking it and giving somebody else, what is God saying? So my thing is, promotion neither comes from the east nor the west, it comes from the Lord.
All right, thank you so much, and we hope that you enjoy this episode. Come back again and learn again and again and again.